First of all, let's go with a overview of your team. Tracy, we'll start with you.
Thought we'd start with some of these wily veterans who've been here before, but no, really. Well, first of all, I want to say how thankful we are and appreciative of the welcoming of Omaha and everyone associated with the College World Series. It's been an unbelievable experience up to this point. Clearly, well documented, new territory for the Indiana Hoosiers. It's been a while since a team from the Big Ten has been represented in the College World Series, and it goes without saying, on an institutional level, we are thrilled to be here, and I qualify that because we don't feel like we're thrilled to just be here. We want to play and compete, but we're also proud to represent the Big Ten. I think what you're going to see from Indiana University, I read the stuff, I hear the stuff. We've kind of made a name for ourselves offensively. We feel we feature some pretty decent hitters. I think what gets lost in that is we pitch the baseball very, very consistently all year as well, and we're not going to try. I mean, I've heard all the things about how this park plays. We're just going to be Indiana University, compete, put our best foot forward, and at the end of the day, see how that goes. But I think people are going to like this group of kids and how they play. They play hard, and that's really in Indiana University. So thank you, and I failed to mention earlier that congratulations to all the coaches, because being a first-time participant in the College World Series, now I have a really good understanding how hard it is to get here. So I wish to congratulate every coach that's sitting up here with me today.
Tim Sullivan, Louisville Courier-Journal. For Coach Smith specifically, but anybody else who wants to weigh in, the wind was blowing up to 30 miles an hour during batting practice this morning. How did your guys react to that, your hitters specifically, and what impact do you think that's going to have on this tournament?
I didn't notice that it was blowing in. No, again, I said everybody keeps talking about it, and I guess my response to that is it's not like we tell our kids to drop and drive and throw those old man softball swings and try to hit balls out of the park. I think our guys have pretty good approaches at the plate. We've been fortunate enough to hit some home runs, but our game is not centered around the home run, so we're not going to make a big deal out of it. I was anxious to see myself, with my own eyes to see how this played. But our Big Ten tournament was played in Target Field, very big field. Balls didn't get out of there like they normally would, so it's just not. I mean, I don't mean to disrespect the question or not really. It's just not that big a deal. Everybody's going to be playing under the same conditions, so we're really not that worried about it.
C.L. Brown with the Louisville Courier-Journal. Tracy, this is for you. Does it help, since this is your first experience in the College World Series, does it help playing a foe that you've seen 3 times this season and see day in and out, just to kind of so the guys will ease into it? Maybe there's not as much nervousness as it would be with another opponent that you weren't familiar with.
I'll tell you what, if we ease into it, we could find ourselves down 5-0 at the end of one. I loved how he said earlier, we got okay, our pen is good. Now, that's the part. I've answered this thing in a couple ways. I think the good piece of it is that there is some familiarity with the teams. I think that's got to help, and I didn't mean to be facetious about that. I do think there's a calming piece to that, but the uncalming piece to that is you've got to face this team. And, people have talked about where you've beaten them twice this year and all that. It's a new season. The stage is different. We've totally thrown that out. And I think this is certainly a compliment to what Dan has done with his team throughout the year is, we've played them and they were very, very good. And as he said, consistent all year. I think they're even better right now. So as much as we would like to say they're friendly neighbors down the road 2 hours, I think they're one of the best teams in college baseball right now, and we're going to approach it that way, and hopefully we can get off to a good start and see what happens. But any of the teams you play, I don't think you can sit and say I'd rather play this one, because all games are going to have their own little ingredients that make it different. But I think it's intriguing for the media that we played. I think it's intriguing because we're close. There's good and bad to both sides of it.
Yeah, Jim Meyer, championship thinking coach. I suppose it's an applaud to you all, because you're leaders, and it's not easy to accomplish what you do, in that context. But you have followers, so it's a general question. Followers are the players. How have they changed, or to what extent have they changed in the last 10 years in terms of how you have to relate to them, as you being the leader, they being the player, the follower?
I would agree with you that it seems that everybody has a pitching coach nowadays. Everybody has, when you're recruiting them, they have a pitching coach, a hitting coach, or this coach, or that coach, and that was one of the reasons. If you've read the papers at all, and I actually saw an article on it, we took our team to the Dominican Republic this fall, and that was one of the main reasons I wanted to take our team to the Dominican Republic, because I wanted our kids to see that baseball. You don't need all of those things, and you don't need the new batting gloves. You don't need the bat bags and the 15 pairs of this and that, and I think it helps. So in the leadership part of it, that was a huge part. I mean, people think, you went down there to play good competition. Yeah, well, yes, but realistically, I wanted kids to get back to and see, because there's no better place. Trust me, if you want to go see baseball played at its most fundamental state of passion. There's not a lot of the extra stuff. The things that jumped out to me, that they're using coconuts for cones in their drills. They actually would tie sandbags, and we've got these nice elaborate running sleds when you're working on your leg strength. They got sandbags tied with ropes to their waist and running in the sand. But it was just sort of that, to get our kids, because there's everybody, the nice cars, the nice this, the nice that. It's just to get them back. You don't need all of that to be good. Have a passion, have a love, have a work ethic, and if you can do that, you can accomplish great things in sports. So that's, from what I've seen, is maybe getting them out of that mindset of all that specialty stuff and all the new stuff. Appreciate this game, respect baseball for what it is, which it's a competition. It's not a fashion show.
Dirk?
The last 5 years is kind of ushered in this sabermetric boom in Major League Baseball, which I'm sure a lot of you guys follow. And but I'm curious to what degree you use the sabermetric stats. And it just seems to me, I guess, anecdotally, that you don't hear as much about it in college baseball. I'm curious, what do you use, what don't you use, and why?
Who are you questioning, Dirk?
As many as possible.
Okay. Tracy, why don't you start with you?
I'll answer the first part of the question on how much we use it. 0. How do I manage? I manage with my gut. I mean, I'll take statistics. I'll look at some of that stuff, but I'm not. I'm a simple human being, and I've been blasted on Twitter. I got guys questioning, Coach, what are you bunting first and second with nobody out? And they cite all these sources that say that that's the absolute stupidest thing in the world. I'm just a big believer in, I think you got to know your personnel. And so for me, I try to put context to our decisions. But, I mean, these guys to my left may say they use it and, more power to them and all that stuff, but I don't. I am a field manager. I think I've got a pretty good sense of my personnel, and that's how I make decisions. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Do I look at some of the statistical stuff and yeah, but if you look at Indiana, we're not big on scouting. If you've heard me speak at all this week, we try to focus on just being us. And so that's a very boring answer to a very good question.
Dan?
Congratulations, everybody, for making it to the Elite Eight. I asked the coaches this at the 11 o'clock press conference. Ballpark plays big in the outfield. Just your thoughts on your right fielder, center fielder, left fielder making plays, cutting off gappers and getting it into the cutoff guys, and maybe plays at the plate could be a big part of the tournament.
Tracy?
I would say the same thing that Pat said. Just we're going to line up and play like we played, and you try to position guys based on what's happening in the game, situation of the game. Are they in? Are they back? No doubles. Got to be in a position to throw people out, but it's going to be no different from what we've done all season, but realizing, it's a bigger part.
Dustin DePierac, Bloomington Herald Times. Tracy, you talked earlier about the effect or non-effect that the park could have on your hitters. What do you think it does for Joey and the way he, just how that factors into the way he plays?
Well, you hope. I would say that most everybody sitting up here, that you hope that your pitchers are pounding the strike zone, and from everything that I can gather, The way you hurt yourself, because the 3-run homer is probably not going to happen, is if you're offering up extra bases via walks or errors or hit batsmen. So again, it's not like you tell a guy don't go out there and throw strikes, or we haven't been saying that, but I think there needs to be an extra focus on that when you get here, is trust your defense and let guys play behind you. No secret, he struggled last weekend. That was something. In spite of that struggle, we still found a way to win, but I don't expect him to go out there and struggle like he did last weekend. So,
Tracy, how close are you guys to overthrowing basketball as a state sport?
Tracy?
I'll answer your question, and this is a true story. I'll answer it like this. So this puts into perspective of basketball at Indiana University. My recruiting coordinator, Ty Neal, who has since accepted going to be moving on to the University of Cincinnati as the head coach, but one of his ideas that he wanted to do at the new stadium, if you come up on our third base side, there's kind of a service drive there, and there's a little equipment area, but there's a nice big rectangular asphalt flat surface, in his mind would be perfect for a basketball hoop right there at the stadium. Then he was like, we could use this in recruiting. So I think that gives you an idea of what basketball means, not only to Indiana, but just around that area. But we are not even close to overcoming. But I've been very appreciative of Coach Crean and his nice comments out there that Indiana's a baseball school now, but we're a part of it. One of the mottos we have at Indiana is 24 sports, one team, and I think that's we just feel like we're one of those 24 sports and doing our part. Growing up in the state of Indiana, born and raised there, it's a basketball state now. It was then and always will be.
And a question for Tracy. Actually, and I think about John and Dan, you guys went and played really formidable foes on the road. Pat, you stayed at home. That was good, but Kansas State, with Brad Hill, there's nothing small about Kansas State baseball either. But Tracy, going down to Dick Hauser Field, and I had read where you stated that, we really got it handed to us down there at one time. So how did you approach that in terms of what changed?
Well, what changed are the names that I could write on that lineup card. I think, for one thing, that was early on in our tenure as a new coaching staff going down there, and it was a different environment. But I'm really bad about remembering things and experiences, and I don't remember in 07 as it being as crazy as it was this time. But the difference to me was the mindset and the group of kids that we're rolling in there with this time. This group genuinely believes they're good, and I think deservedly so. But and this is no disrespect to any program in the country, but I do think that is probably the toughest place to play. I mean, I said the other day, they have manuals on cheers that they do during the games, and they absolutely go crazy. But the good part about that is on our trip to the College World Series, I look at it like, thank goodness we had that opportunity to roll through there, because we will never in my lifetime face anything like we faced last weekend. And I can't even begin. And I know if some of you guys have played there, I'm not sure. I've been around a lot of baseball, and I've never been in an environment like that and they were great fans. They weren't hostile, crazy, rude, but so loud. We couldn't talk. You couldn't talk. You couldn't talk in the dugout. You couldn't talk in the mound. You couldn't anything. And we have a 6-run lead going into the top of the ninth. And even that we didn't feel comfortable and when I talked about the walks earlier, we haven't walked. Aaron Slager's had 3 wild pitches all season, has 4, and like 3 or 4 innings down there. And I think a lot of it was the crowd. But we felt comfortable going down there. But in hindsight, I'm glad we went down there, because I think it was great preparation for being here.